There's one important factor that a lot of people miss out on or don't give a lot of attention to when it comes to healing chronic symptoms. Although you might think or believe that you have a mind-body symptom or a psychosomatic symptom, as most people know it, you might still be harboring a lot of doubt, and that doubt is obstructing you from recovery. In this video, I'm going to explain how you can get rid of that doubt through factual science-based indicators. So let's get started. Typically, mind-body symptoms manifest in a different way to, let's say, acute symptoms from an injury or from a one-off infection or from something else that is a purely structural condition. It's important to make a distinction between how acute conditions manifest and how chronic mind-body symptoms manifest, so that you can firmly believe that you have a case of mind-body syndrome and that your symptoms can be approached via a mind-body approach. Otherwise, even if you try out that approach, it might not work for you because doubt will keep you from totally embracing it. It will keep you from adopting that mindset of firm belief and confidence in your body that is needed in order to heal. So I'm going to get started with some of the most common mind-body indicators. And by the way, these indicators are endorsed by the most popular mind-body specialists out there, by Dr. Sarno first and foremost, who was the first to note some of them, as well as his followers who have noted other indicators. So I'm going to share the most common ones with you here, because I'm sure that most of you will be able to relate to a couple of these indicators. You don't have to relate to all of them in order for your symptoms to be classified as TMS, as a mind-body symptom. So the first group of indicators relate to how symptoms manifest in the body. You might have bad days and good days. It's as if the symptoms have a mood of their own, and this isn't really how acute symptoms or viruses or injuries manifest, right? These other illnesses tend to have a more linear trajectory. You might have the same symptoms present themselves on both sides of the body as well. It is very, very unusual for you to have the same kind of damage, the same kind of injury causing the same symptoms on both sides of the body, right? Because let's say your arms, both your legs are connected with different nerves. So they're not like connected to each other in that way. But when we have mind-body symptoms, it becomes easier for the brain to mirror the same kind of symptoms on the other side of the body, because that kind of pain is already familiar. So it's unfortunately due to fear and this kind of familiarity that the brain cultivates with the symptoms, it's easier to replicate the same kind of symptom on the other side of the body. You might also notice that the pain changes location or changes form. So you might notice that although the pain is in your leg, it tends to shift location in your leg, or it tends to change its form. For example, you might first have stabbing pain, but then you have pins and needles, then you have a more dull radiating pain. So it kind of changes. That's a huge indicator that there is brain involvement, right? You might also have multiple unrelated symptoms. So let's say you might have shoulder pain, but you also have sciatica pain. Again, these two parts of the body are unrelated. You might also have other issues like acid reflux or insomnia. Or you might have fibromyalgia, which contains a number of different symptoms all over the body, right? So that's a huge indicator that there is brain involvement there, that there's central sensitization, that the person is dysregulated, because only the brain Only a brain that is under chronic stress and fear can create so many different symptoms in the body. Your symptoms may also not correlate to any damage or signs of wear and tear that are found on medical imaging, right? So you might have pain in your hip, but your MRI finds a disc herniation in your back, which is not related to your hip pain. Or your doctor also may think and may have told you that your symptoms seem to be out of proportion to any medical findings. Another very common indicator is that symptoms sometimes flare up while doing very basic or harmless tasks. For example, when you have an intense reaction if you just pick up a very light object, if you, let's say, clean the kitchen surface, or if you sneeze. I had this one. I used to have intense tendonitis pain, elbow pain, and when I sneezed, until I realized it was just a mind-body symptom. Also, your symptoms might be low or inexistent when you visit a doctor or a specialist, or they go away temporarily after you take a specific treatment, such as a massage, such as going to the chiropractor. This happens due to various factors. Some people might feel really, really safe at the doctor's office and reassured by the hope that there might be a cure, and because of this, the symptoms may subside during the visit. Or they might get a massage which really releases their muscle tension in the body. So temporarily there is that release of tension. However, if the tension doesn't end there, if the person still goes on living in chronic stress and fear, then of course the tension will come back and the pain will come back. Another common indicator when it comes to symptom manifestation is that symptoms may subside when you fall sick with another illness, with another ailment. For example, if you have the flu, you might notice that your back pain has subsided, for example. You might notice that if one of your symptoms goes away, another new one also crops up soon after. This is a very common thing to happen, especially as you're going about the mind-body journey. As you feel confident that you can overcome one of your symptoms, another one might pop up that is more scary to you, for example. Another indicator is that pain might be triggered by exercise or activity, but you feel the pain long after you've indulged in this activity. For example, you feel the worst of the pain the next day or 2 days later. This is not how an injury would behave. An injury would be felt at the time of the activity. If you have a broken bone and you try to run, it's going to be very painful and debilitating, right? Whereas if you have mind-body syndrome, you might be okay during the run because you have endorphins in your brain, you have dopamine. But then after that run is over, after that exhilaration is over, then mind-body symptoms might start creeping up on you because you fear you might have overdone it, because you are conditioned to feel the pain after an activity. That obviously indicates brain involvement. Another common one among individuals is that the same or similar symptoms tend to pop up at the same time every year. For example, let's say at Christmas time, on your birthday, or on the anniversary of a loss of a loved one. If you have experienced this, then don't disregard this. It's a huge indicator for the fact that your symptoms are a mind-body issue. And now I'm going to be discussing some other emotional indicators. So emotional indicators are those which indicate that symptoms are emotionally induced, depending on your emotional state. So it could be that symptoms flare up when you're having a bad day, or the week after a negative event has happened. Sometimes there's a delay as well. It could happen weeks after or a month after a particularly stressful time in your life. It could be that the symptoms disappear or become less intense when you're positively distracted as well. For example, while you're on holiday and while you're watching a captivating movie, or when you meet someone by accident who you were really excited to see, and for that moment you totally forget about your symptom. You might also have noticed that your symptoms got much worse after you received a structural diagnosis for your pain, or when you were diagnosed with a specific condition by a doctor. For example, a lot of clients tell me that their back pain got much, much worse after their MRI revealed a herniation. Or they might have gone in for an MRI for hip pain, but because their MRI revealed a disc herniation, then they started to feel back pain instead. Isn't that curious? It could also be that symptoms flare up when you visit a specific place or do a specific task that feels unpleasant to you, all right, such as, let's say, a specific task at work. Or as a task that you're forcing yourself to do. Like, let's say your symptoms always flare up when you intend to wash your car or clean the house, right? That's another emotional indicator. Another very, very, very common indicator that you need to be extremely aware of is that symptoms might flare up every time that you have a thought that expects a flare-up, that expects the pain to get worse. For example, if you think that you may be overdoing it, or if you suspect that an activity might be too much for your body to handle, you can get pain either during the activity or shortly after that activity to confirm this expectation. Unfortunately, this is what I call a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it is very, very common when it comes to mind-body symptoms. So for the purpose of this video, that's all in terms of mind-body indicators. There are other indicators related to your personality, to the way that you respond and handle chronic pain. I normally share these indicators, the ones I've just shared, just in my online courses and programs, because it's quite a lot of information already, but I thought that this video really needed to get out there because there is so much confusion. There are so many people who don't improve just because a part of them still thinks that, you know, maybe their symptoms are not TMS, they are not mind-body. There's that doubt sneaking in every time this person is trying to make an effort in order to heal from a mind-body condition. There's typically this conflict where people try to address emotional root causes without really believing that their pain is being caused fully by those emotional root causes. This significantly obstructs progress. And I've noticed also in my clients that the biggest breakthroughs have taken place when the individual has realized fully, you know, all parts of him or herself has finally bought in to the idea that his or her symptoms are a mind-body issue, that it's not a structural issue at all, even though it might manifest physically or structurally. Once you get this truth on an inner level, it will be way, way easier to overcome your chronic symptoms. So I hope that you found this video helpful. If you need more information and a more detailed process and blueprint to overcome chronic symptoms, I would encourage you to check out my Pain-Free Breakthrough program, which combines the techniques, the mindset shifts, and the knowledge needed for you to feel confident about healing, and which you can effectively implement into your day-to-day life to see results. So I'll put the link there in the comments and in the description. And that's all from me for today. I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.